institutions and the like.
Yeah, Chris, there was a little grayness regarding whether or not having a licensure would really be required before mandates could occur. Although the Equal Employment Opportunity Commission has weighed in to say that mandates could occur as long as reasonable accommodations were made for people with disabilities or for religious reasons, there was still a reluctance to actually issue.
Hey, how's it going?
Good. How are you?
Good.
Carmen, if you can hear me, it's not letting me add you as an attendee.
All right, do we have everybody? My lighting's gonna go bad on me here. Okay, we're going to our work session. It's August 23rd, 2021. Anybody from the public that's with us, welcome. We are now totally back on Zoom and virtual meetings with the pandemic. And the cases going up in our state and across the country, we felt that it would be better for us to resume meetings back in this format into the future until further notice. Tonight, council, we're going to be talking about the body art establishments. Now, as you know, we've gone through this a few times. We've tabled it a few times. And I think we want to try to get to a position that we can get this thing on the books and done. So Carmen, you want to take it away?
Absolutely, Mayor and Council. I would, for a real brief summary of where we've been, I would direct you to my memo to you dated August 19 that's in your packet. With a couple of introductory paragraphs about the background, real simply, and for members of the public who might be viewing. As Mayor mentioned, we have had this conversation a few times. We've been round the bend and back again on this issue. About a year ago, you, as council, adopted a temporary moratorium on the establishment of any new body art establishments. In spring of 2020, as Mayor said, well, on another topic, but in the throes of the early days of the pandemic in the spring of 2020, you wanted to pause the establishment of any new body art establishments while you took the time to evaluate potential concerns about how those establishments were conducted in terms of public health and safety. And that came to light because we as staff discovered that in 2019, as a part of the comprehensive rewriting of the city's land development regulations, or LDR, what's now chapter 21 of our code, essentially the zoning, subdivision, and planning regulations of the city. In 2019, if you remember, those of you who were on council at the time, we rewrote those things in a very comprehensive way. As a part of that process, body art establishments were changed from conditional uses to permitted uses in the commercial districts, commercial and industrial. And I don't recall that being a topic of conversation at all in 2019. I think it sort of happened and no one really paid attention, quite frankly. And then in 2020, or maybe it was late 2019 or early 2020, we had a new body art establishment business be located in the city. That was how we as staff discovered that they were now, in fact, permitted uses by right in several zone districts and in the commercial and industrial districts. Everybody, or most people on staff, our memory had been that they were CUPs, that they were conditional uses. So all of that led to council sort of pushing the pause button and taking a look. And for the past almost year, we have done that, taken a look as a group at ways to regulate, if you want, these sorts of businesses. We looked into how the state and the county regulate such businesses. And we discovered that while there are some permitting requirements and requirements in terms of operations at the state level, they really aren't enforced by either the state or county public health. We directly reached out to both behemoths, entities, and got a response that was, we really don't follow up or inspect or enforce. Okay. So we then thought, well, what do other local communities do? What do other municipalities do, if anything, to regulate how such businesses are conducted? And if you remember, it was also added to the packet this evening under the other memo from me in your packet, the September 15, 2020 memo. We surveyed dozens we tried to get sort of similarly sized Colorado communities to see if any of them had any kind of local licensing or operational kinds of requirements on body art establishments. And almost universally, we got a big fat no in response. There were 2 communities that we were able to find had adopted a local licensing scheme that allowed the local jurisdiction to inspect and have standards to inspect for, which then gave a local consequence to failing to meet those standards. And those 2 communities, if you remember, were Englewood and Edgewater, the 2 big E's. So that's what we found in terms of what other jurisdictions do to regulate such businesses. And if you remember, we were on the precipice of talking about what to do, maybe have local licensing requirements. And council thought, well, let's just, instead of messing with that, go back to the way we were and have it be a conditional use permit again, to allow the group, the council, to, when proposals came up from time to time, have a rather ad hoc review of what was proposed, exactly where, under the general CUP standards, conditional use permit standards. Well, that was the plan. And we had even gone to the point of having first reading of an ordinance that returned body art establishments to CUP status when my office began to look at and think about First Amendment protections. Are those in play here? Many kinds of land uses, whether they are painting, art, maybe photography, things that folks naturally think of as having First Amendment expressive protections, from those uses to things like exotic dancing. No kidding. There are expressions and land uses and businesses that have expressive elements to them that the law recognizes as protected under the First Amendment as business enterprises, and that limits government in how we zone and restrict them in terms of land uses, those businesses that have expressive activities. And what I discovered, you'll see in the August 19 memo from me, council, is that there indeed, in the last about 10, 15 years, there indeed has been an evolution in case law across the country to recognize body art as expressive activity. It not just the literal resulting art that is on the body, but the act of performing it as well. Case law in other jurisdictions, including 2 federal circuit courts, which are the courts that really start to matter in terms of building stare decisis, precedential case law that binds lower courts. And again, that really matters, that leads to like the Supreme Court law. 2 other circuits, the 9th and the 11th, have recognized that body art establishments are entitled to a level of First Amendment protection under the law that other kinds of businesses are not. Now, we in Colorado are in the 10th Circuit, so we don't have that sort of binding case law in our federal circuit court yet, or in any Colorado case law. But you can see in the memo, council, that I think case law is trending across the country in a direction that limits our ability as a city to have a conditional use permit process for body art establishments. I think that from a land use perspective, case law is pointing us towards keeping and maintaining such establishments as permitted uses in zone districts where it's appropriate. So maybe it's all commercial, maybe it's all industrial, maybe it's both commercial and industrial as we have now. But keeping them as a permitted use from a land use perspective is, I think, the proper course and the safest course under developing case law, again, from a land use view. And so I wanted to report that back to you and report to you my recommendation that from a land use perspective, we not proceed with an ordinance that changes body art establishments back to a CUP. I think we would be running the risk of eventually facing a suit because of doing that. If a CUP were ever denied, or if there were conditions that an applicant didn't like, we could face some exposure there. And certainly, I think, given the lay of the land, an appellant in that case would have a stronger case than we probably. However, I also wanted to ask you, given what I just said, if indeed we do maintain body art establishments as permitted uses, are you, council, interested in having some sort of local regulatory scheme through a licensing process? Again, a la what Inglewood or Edgewater have done. Have a very simple set of local criteria that we and our staff would then have the obligation and duty to inspect and check, such that there is some level of local review and control over things like health and sanitation, safety, folks not being under the influence when they're in there or performing services in there. Those are health and safety related criteria that could defensively be a part of a licensing scheme that I think you could adopt if you wanted. So that's what I have to report to you in terms of legal developments. And that's what I would like from you in terms of input on whether you would like to have any kind of local licensing scheme.
Well, I would say that, you know, we all kind of scratched our heads when we were first talking about this, and who and how do we inspect these places? You know, for somebody like me that flips burgers, go in there and inspect and make sure that I know everything to look for. I think that's difficult. I think we've also talked about a complaint-driven type inspections, that if somebody says, hey, I went in there, this place is dirty, then we would probably hire somebody to go over there and take a look at it, you know, that knew the background of body art facilities and what's expected out of them, and the way that they're supposed to keep their equipment and cleanliness and everything. So now when we do this, would these be put into some, I mean, it would only be available in commercial districts, or have we even decided what zoning districts this would be allowed in? And with that, can we say that, because what I'm hearing is we couldn't say these could not be in the downtown historic district, because that would go against the First Right Amendment, right? Because you're saying you can't be in this area to do what you want to do. Is that correct, Carmen?
You know, it's funny you bring up that example, because that was the sorry, it's my phone. Hold on. Stop. That very example of a community restricting or excluding body art establishments from an historic district was invalidated by a court in California. I think that's probably, yes, Mayor, I can confirm your hunch that that's probably not a good idea to restrict them from that sort of prime commercial district. Right now, they are permitted in all the commercial and all the industrial districts in the city.
Okay.
And your point is well taken. And quite frankly, the lack of local expertise, perhaps, right, in what we're looking for, if we were to have a local inspection or regulatory process, that, as I recall, was one of the factors that led council to really not want to go down that road before. And fair enough point. But I see a little yellow hand in Councilor Clark's block.
Are they doing, well, first, did the tattoo shop move? Are they?
Yeah, the property that they were originally in sold. And
Gotcha.
they did move locations. They're at about, what would that be, 19, probably about 2000 Colorado Boulevard.
Yeah, right across. Yeah. Okay. So, are they doing body piercing or just tattooing?
Ooh, that's a good question. I don't think they're doing piercing at this time, Jim. We would have to check, but I don't remember seeing. I've been in there, but I don't remember seeing any piercing things or any signs of it says piercing.
So I don't know anybody that would get tattooed, but from what I understand,
Would you raise your hand, Jim? Would you raise your hand, please?
So anyway, yeah, what I was saying is that so I know the owners quite well down at where I go to, but they do piercing as well down at Phantom 8. That's off of Broadway, 285-ish roughly. When they have inspections done down there, like at their place, their biggest focus, their main focus is mostly on the piercing side of things. That's where most of the bad things happen. As far as health wise, tattoos are pretty. Nobody would certainly get tattooed by some guy that already had a tattoo machine loaded up with a bunch of ready to go. They always. That's all clean, sterile stuff. So I don't know that it's truly an issue as far as like regulating them inspection wise, where I think, Mary, you hit it there. Maybe on a case by case, we just look at complaints that, hey, we didn't feel real safe in this place. It's, wasn't exactly clean or we didn't see clean needles come out of packages or whatever. But like I say, the biggest thing that they run into down there is on the body piercing side of things. So especially, people are piercing a lot of weird things these days. So that I suppose that could get pretty not healthy, if you will.
Yeah, Carmen, so is the body art, does that include piercings? Is it under the definition?
That's what I was wondering.
Yep.
It's under that definition of body art.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
I would not be for any type of regulation. I'm not at all happy with the state's reactionary stance where it's complaint driven. But I would say that study revealed the overwhelming majority of Colorado cities do not have any type of additional regulation. And to me, that speaks volume.
And I would add to that I think you just start over regulating stuff, and it would be something in our jurisdiction now that we have to take care of, and there'd be a cost to that also.
Yeah.
Enough.
So what I'm hearing is direction to Carmen to, let's get this second read done. Changing it back to not a, where it's not a, right, it's a use by right. And we're good with that. And not that it has to come before council for approval, to have a location. Is that what I'm hearing from everybody?
Yes.
Okay,
You know, we have 22 cities, or 27 cities. I counted them and forgot, as opposed to 2 that do have regulations. And it just seems to me that's totally overwhelming. I think it's a non-issue.
And
Okay,
I think Jim stated it, but Carmen can tell us, but we have the right to go there complaint by issue. We still have that right, I think.
Indeed, if there are public health issues, if there are issues of alleged non-compliance with any of the standards that other, again, entities and jurisdictions have over them, like the county or state, because there are standards, it's just no one enforces them. So indeed, if we had complaints that those standards were not being met, could absolutely go in. Now, we would then refer them, right, or have to go to someone else to help us address them. But absolutely, Councilor Pennell, we could. And if there were, quite frankly, just unsafe things happening on a level that rose to other sorts of criminal conduct, which we certainly don't hope, we could address those as well, for sure. And Mayor and Council, just to verify, I won't have to bring back, will not have to bring back an ordinance to you, because right now the code has those uses as permitted. So that's the status quo. We were thinking about, and we were in between to CUP. So we yanked that back. We will scrap that completely and permanently now, from what I'm hearing from you, council, and we'll be done with it.
okay. We
Okay.
will get that on the agenda for our next regular meeting, so we can get the second reading done. All right, good work. It only took us 4 months to get past that, but we got it. Okay, you got 5 minutes for a comfort break. Oh, Andy's got something. Wait a minute.
So Carmen, I just want to clarify. So there will be no ordinance coming back, correct?
Yep.
No. Okay. So the ordinance that was proposed will be terminated,
Yep.
and we'll just stick with the current zoning under the land use code, correct?
Yes, because it under the current land use code, it's permitted right now. So we won't undo that. Yep.
So no further actions needed by council.
No,
No second reading or anything. Okay.
no, sir.
Okay.
So we still have a moratorium?
No, good question. That has, Councilor Curtis, that has expired. So that is also
Okay.
terminated.
All right.
All right, take a couple of minutes and we'll start at 7 o'clock sharp for our regular meeting. And you don't have to go anywhere. It's all right here. My lighting is off because of where the sun's at. Oh, wow. Okay, it's 7 o'clock. Do we have everybody on except Andrew? Andy, are you back with us? Andy? Bob too. We're waiting on Bob as well. Oh, it's not gonna work. Oh, well, it'll just have to be like it is. We got Bob. Okay, let's get started. It is 7 o'clock. This is August 23rd, 2021. This is a regular meeting for the Council of Idaho Springs. Welcome everybody that's with us. If you haven't figured it out yet, last week council decided that it was going to be safer for not only us and staff, and the public for us to have virtual meetings come back, and we'll be doing this until further notice. So welcome everybody. Can I have roll call, please?
Michael Hillman.
Here.
Scott Pennell.
Here.
Chuck Harmon. Bob Bolin.
Here.
John Curtis.
Here.
Art Cacavelli. Jim Clark.
Here.
All right, please stand with us for the Pledge of the Allegiance. I pledge the
Allegiance.
To the flag.
Flag.
United
States
States
of America, and to the
Republic which it
for which it
stands,
stands,
one
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 nation,
nation.
under
God,
God, indivisible, liberty and justice for all.
for all.
All right, thank you. Please be seated. We do have an agenda in front of us. I do have some amendments that we're going to make tonight before we make a motion on this. First, what we're going to do is where it says liquor license authority, this is actually the marijuana license authority.
Right.
Okay, so we need to do that. And also resolution number 18, we're going to bring that up into the same time that we're doing the public hearing. So that's all grouped together for that. And also what I would like to do tonight is after discussing and looking at the proposals for the landscape design, for the landscape project over at the library, I'd like to table this item for tonight. After talking to Andy and seeing the cost of this thing, I want to circle back up and see why this thing has really gotten out of hand in the cost of it, because if you notice, it's over $300,000 for not a very big area of landscaping. So I'm going to work with Andy and Jared and John Kane on this to take a look at it to see where where the cost is so high and what we could potentially do to modify this design a little bit. Of course, it'll have to go back to the state because it's been approved. I think that $300,000 or plus for the landscape over there is quite expensive. So I want to table this item for tonight, and we'll bring it back to council. So with that, can I have a motion?
Mayor,
Yes.
we need to change the name of the company in the liquor or the marijuana licensing authority to Idaho Springs LLC.
Okay, thank you, Diane.
Mhm.
Okay. With that, can I get a motion?
I'd move to approve the agenda for the August 23rd, 2021 meeting as amended.
And do I get a second?
Second.
All right, motion is second. Last discussion. All in favor, raise your hand and say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Aye.
All right, we have an agenda. Does anybody tonight on council feel they have a conflict of interest with any of the discussion we're going to have tonight? Okay, we will move to the minutes. Everybody have a chance to look at the minutes, and can I get a motion?
I'll move to approve the minutes from August 9th, 2021.
And can I get a second?
Second.
And discussion. All in favor, raise your hand and say aye. Aye.
Aye.
All right, motion passes, and we will move down to the bills. Do I have a motion?
I'd move to approve the bills to August 23rd, 2021.
Can I get a second?
Second.
And John Curtis is second. Discussion. Anybody have anything on the bills that they need clarification on? All right.
Art's not here.
All right, hearing none, can I have roll call, please?
Michael Hillman,
Yes.
Scott Pennell,
Yes.
Chuck Harmon,
Yes.
Bob Boland,
Yes.
John Curtis,
Yes.
Art Cacavelli, Jim Clark.
Yes.
Okay, tonight, under scheduled public comment, we have Virginia Feld that would like to talk to us about street maintenance and parking. Virginia?
Yes.
Could you tell us where you reside, your name and where you reside, please?
My name is Virginia Feld and I live at 343 19th Avenue.
Okay, and you have 3 minutes for your public comment.
Okay. No maintenance on our roads since 1950 or later on 19th and Virginia Street and Illinois Street. We, the ugly stepchild of Idaho Springs, corner of 19th Avenue and Virginia Street. Parking is allowing one family to park 4 cars or more, blocking roads so deliveries could not be made due to parking on 19th Avenue. I even have pictures of the delivery people having to carry delivery stuff up to Wall Street. And that's all I have to say.
All right, thank you for your comments, Virginia. And council will take note of your concerns. Do I have any unscheduled public comment?
Yes, sir. Brandy Murphy.
Okay, Brandy, welcome with us. If you'll just state your name and where you reside, and you'll have 3 minutes to voice your comments, please.
I'm Brandy Murphy. I'm at 1235 Colorado Boulevard. Thanks for the opportunity to speak tonight on the proposed special improvement district to fund part of the construction of a parking deck downtown. I'm not opposed to the construction of a parking deck. I am critical of the plan to form a SID to close the gap in funding after the city and CDOT's contributions, especially without adequate input. Many locals are unaware of the effects this SID could have on them. These downtown properties and the businesses within are people's livelihoods and investments, their retirement funds, their food on the table. They're not going to take a hit. They will pass their additional expense onto the customers and the tenants. Yes, tenants of Idaho Springs, this SID will cause your rent to go up. Your rent has probably recently gone up already due to increased water rates, increased market value, etc. Paychecks have not gone up proportional to these other increases. will get ready to absorb this additional cost because I doubt the average property owner plans to take a hit to their investment. It's their nest egg source. This is one reason why we should all care and we should all be involved in this conversation and decision, not just the downtown business owners that have been invited and encouraged to chime in. This is a community discussion. Councilman Pinnell asked at the August 2 work session, what happens if some assessments are not paid or they default? CCEDC did not have an answer on this besides referencing the involvement of Troy Bernberg of Downtown Colorado Inc. as an expert. Pinnell said this needs to be answered before moving forward. I agree with that. And I was surprised to hear that it had not yet been addressed. So I spent some time reading the Colorado revised statutes that pertain to special improvement districts. I found the answers myself. I confirmed that per the statutes, in case of payment default on these assessed properties, said properties can be advertised and sold for the payment of the whole of the unpaid assessments, plus penalties and costs of collection. Let's explore alternatives further. Downtown Colorado determined that a SID was the best way to close the gap in funding the deck. But why? Why not a public-private partnership? Why not a loan? Why not a bond? Why not use revenues that have come in from managed parking since 2019 instead of using that parking money on other things? Those expenses were met by other funds before we had paid parking. Why are we now using parking money to meet those expenses? What is that money that used to pay for those things now going to? Let's seek the answers to those questions. Lastly, it's misleading that the SID must be formed ASAP because CDOT has offered to pay for part of it. This time-sensitive offer is a used car salesman tactic. CDOT is highly unlikely to redesignate funds earmarked for an Idaho Springs parking structure to something else. We are an important cog in their wheels and a major stop on several of their routes, and those are their partners. The CDOT money is not going to vanish if we don't sign on the dotted line right now, and conveying such encourages a hasty decision. That's all I have to say. Thank you for your time.
Thank you for your comments, Brandy. Okay, we're gonna move on through. We are gonna now come out of our city council hats on, and we are gonna open it up. We are now gonna be under the liquor licenses, the marijuana licensing authority. So with that, we will go into a public hearing. This hearing will come to order. This is a public hearing before the Marijuana License Authority of the City of Idaho Springs to approve or deny the application for a change of controlling beneficial owner 1 retail marijuana cultivation license and 1 retail store to remove Dane Casterson and add is this where, Diane, is this where it's Clear Creek? Where did I write that down at? Is this where I need to change the name, Diane? It's not Kayabon Fire?
No, it's just Idaho Springs LLC.
There it is. Okay, I'm sorry. Yeah, I did write it down. And Idaho Springs LLC. All testimony will be given under oath, which will be administered by the city clerk. The order of this hearing will be as follows. We'll hear attorney's comments, staff report and testament, applicant testimony, police testimony, and then any public testimony. This hearing is now declared open. It is 7:13. With that, we will hear from our city attorney. Carmen?
Thank you, Mayor and Council. I did not have any prepared kind of comments for you. I have reviewed the application and don't have concerns to express from a legal perspective. And I defer to City Clerk Brees on her review of the code criteria and whether or not those are met by the application.
Thank you, Carmen. Diane from staff, please.
Okay, in accordance with CRS 44-12-302, the notice of public hearing to be held by the Marijuana Licensing Authority concerning the above referenced application was published in the Clear Creek Current and marked as Exhibit A on August 11th, 2021, and was posted on the premises August 13th, 2021. And Jonathan has slides that wasn't included in your packet.
Okay. And do we have the applicant with us tonight?
Hi, this is Terrence Snyder. I'm with Bonfire, Idaho Springs LLC.
Okay, state, would you like to make comments tonight?
Nope, I'm just the applicant.
Okay. Chief? Have anything from you?
Mr. Mayor, Council, I reviewed the packet and I don't see anything that's concerning or out of the ordinary in what in this.
All right, thank you, Chief. Last, do I have any public that would like to make comments tonight? All right, hearing none. This hearing is now closed at 7:15, and we'll go to council discussion. Discussion, council? No discussion? All right. Then let's, do I have a motion?
I move to approve resolution number 18, series 2021, a resolution approving application for a change of controlling beneficial owner of the existing retail marijuana license held by Idaho Springs LLC for the licensed premises at 15 Colorado Boulevard.
And do I have a second?
Second.
And real quick, I want to make a correction. In our packet, it does say 2020, series 2020, and Councilman Harmon did say it correctly. He did say 2021. So I just wanted to make note of that. Okay, discussion. All right, no discussion. Can I have roll call?
Michael Hillman,
Yes.
Scott Pennell,
Yes.
Chuck Harmon,
Yes.
Bob Boland,
Yes.
John Curtis,
Yes.
Art Cacavelli, Jim Clark.
Yes.
All right, motion passes. We will move down to planning community development. Jared, do you have anything to share with us tonight?
Nothing that isn't already on the agenda for later in the meeting.
All right, thanks, Jared. Okay, we will move to our resolutions. Unless our city attorney has anything else for us. No, okay. And we will move to our resolutions. Do I have a motion?
I'll move to approve resolution number 16, series 2021, a resolution adopting new and revised city employee job descriptions.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Motion is second. Discussion. What I will say is I know there was a lot of effort to go into these and getting these laid out for us. I think a very good job. I'm very pleased with where we're setting on this. So thank you, staff, for pulling these job descriptions together and making it easy for us to have in front of us. Any more discussion? Roll call.
Well, I have a question, Mike. If we wanted to change these to a minor degree, do we have to go through a resolution to change anything on these, or?
Yes. Any change on the job description would have to be a simple resolution. It's, it's not a first and second reading, it's a simple resolution. Okay, anybody else? Roll call.
Michael Hillman,
Yes.
Scott Pennell,
Yes.
Chuck Harmon,
Yes.
Bob Boland,
Yes.
John Curtis,
Yes.
Art Cacavelli, Jim Clark.
Yes.
All right, motion passes. We'll move to our next resolution. Do I have a motion?
Move to approve resolution number 17, series 2021, a resolution referring to the registered electors of the city at the November 2nd, 2021 regular municipal election, a ballot question concerning the imposition of the city marijuana excise tax.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Second.
Okay, discussion. I was on with Carmen and Andy earlier. Council, we talked about having this earmarked for a specific purpose. And I think we were talking about parks and recreation to help us build up our parks, bring back in some of the amenities that we've taken out, and to continue to maintain. If you didn't know, the tennis court that we used to have, It was under the umbrella of the rec center, and they gave it back to us. The reason for about every 2 years, it needed to be resurfaced, and it was very expensive to resurface that tennis court. So this will give us some funds to help us maintain our current recreation that we have out there in our city, and to move forward and provide additional and replace some of the things we've now. So I asked Carmen to modify. We did have the ballot measure in our packet, and I asked her to revise that to include that earmarked or only being able to use for that purpose. Does everybody recall that? And is everybody okay with that?
Yep.
Okay. All right. That's all I have.
Sorry, Mayor, just so I'm clear, and so all the public watching is clear, the ballot question that's currently in the packet, it shall be, if approved on this pending motion, it shall be approved, but with the added amendment that the excise tax revenues from it shall be dedicated to park and recreation purposes. Is that correct?
That is correct.
Okay, very good. Thank you.
And also to be clear, this is not a new tax. This is an existing tax. That'll be clear on the ballot issue, right?
So what this tax is an existing tax countywide. So what's going on is the county is actually getting money, a 5% tax off of the sale or the transfer that our local marijuana dispensaries have. And looking into that a little bit further, I think it behooves us that should come back into the city and used for an betterment of, like we pointed out, for parks and recreation. This is something that happened, I don't remember how many years ago it was. And at that point, the marijuana dispensaries were having to grow most of their product within the city limits, and things have changed. And I think this is something that the city deserves to have. Our local businesses are doing these services. And I think the benefit of this tax, this 5% tax, should be coming back to the city and not to the county. Now, the county has been collecting for all the dispensaries across the county. So all this time, the last 4 years or so, they've been collecting from all the dispensaries. And like I said, the whole idea is to bring this back, revenues that our dispensaries are generating, and keeping it in our community and using it for a good purpose.
And just to sort of add to that, Councilor Pennell, you're right. It's an existing tax, and as Mayor just explained, at the county level, and how the statutes work is the county could collect that countywide tax in Idaho Springs or any other city, so long as the city didn't have its own version of this. So this will be a new city tax. However, it will simply sort of make the scales even, because it will wipe out essentially the county's application of the tax in Idaho Springs, and our local Idaho Springs tax would just step into its role. So nothing, cost of business for our local businesses won't be affected. It should not. And that's, I think, maybe a part of the education piece as a city when you talk about this ballot question.
Well, and I think it's the education, but also how the ballot wording, I want to make sure some people read the ballot issue without getting educated. Sometimes they're a little confused. So make sure that the ballot issue is worded in a way that they understand that too.
Yeah, go ahead.
Sorry, go ahead, John. It's a little, what is in the ballot question now is pretty much driven by Tabor, unfortunately, and it's really long. Thank you, Tabor, for that reason. But if it's council desire, we could try to add some language that clarifies that this is taking the place of an existing county tax or something like that, Councilor Pennell.
Right, because the first line says Idaho Springs taxes will be increased by $30,000.
Yeah,
I mean,
and again, that's
and
driven by the
that-
Constitution.
I know, but
Yeah,
if there would be an explanation after explaining,
yep,
the
yep.
county, because that, when people read that right away, they're gonna
Yeah,
hesitate. Some people.
I hear you.
Andy, you had your hand up, please.
The other thing the other change that we had talked about this afternoon is raising the amount of revenue that's projected for next year with this tax, if it was approved, to 50,000. After taking a closer look at the numbers, the actual numbers for the last 5 years in the county, which includes the dispensaries here in Idaho Springs, we think that a closer number would be 50,000.
Thank you, Andy. And to be clear, we as council and public, we as staff are really shooting high on that number on purpose. By operation of Tabor, if we shoot low and revenues actually received in the first fiscal year exceed what we have estimated in the ballot question, we would be in a refunding obligation under Tabor to refund those excess revenues above what we estimated. So we do think it's a somewhat realistic number given what happened last year in terms of excise tax revenues. However, we will also say it behooves the city and folks who want to approve this question and see this money be retained and used for parks and recreations, it behooves us to shoot a little high. Thanks for catching that, Andy.
And also during the education part, make sure they understand this, we can match and almost double that money for parks and recreation from GOCO.
Yep.
Absolutely. Once we get a little nest egg of this is money that we use. We have been very successful over many years of grants with CPW and GOCO. And I see that this could be a part of our match for future grants. So that's good to note that, John. Thank you. Okay, anything else, council? Have roll call.
Michael Hillman,
Yes.
Scott Pennell,
Yes.
Chuck Harmon,
Yes.
Bob Boland,
Yes.
John Curtis,
Yes.
Art Cacavelli, Jim Clark.
Yes.
All right, motion passes. We have already done resolution 18, so we don't have that one. Now we will move down to our ordinances. First reading. Do I have a motion?
I move to approve ordinance number 16, series 2021, an ordinance referring ballot question to electors at the November 2nd, 2021 regular municipal election concerning the imposition of a 1% sales tax rate increase dedicated to water and wastewater capital improvement.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All right, I think we have Bob's second. Discussion. So we've had work sessions on this topic. We had a presentation by Raftelis last week to show how it will benefit our community, our residents and businesses. When I saw, and I'm sure everybody else was floored when we saw what the scheduled increase for next year is, and what a 1% sales tax will do in helping not to have that type of increase and to keep our increases out into the future, what I would consider very minimal to what we've had to do over the last several years to catch up and to be able to figure out how to pay for the capital improvements of the wastewater plant that the state had required us to do. I think this is a good way to show that the community that we care about them. We've heard them. It's one of those things that we have an asset that we have to pay for. We only have so many users. We had to do it. So I think with this to be able to help out and to offset those major increases and keep it pretty level at a minimal going out into the future is very beneficial to our whole community. Anybody else?
We have a sunset on this, or?
We did not put a sunset on this, Scott. If we, this can go away pretty easily. Well, if we pay down the loans and don't want to continue to do that, Carmen, maybe you can explain the way to take away that tax.
Absolutely. Mayor and council, you can reduce, Tabor doesn't limit your ability to reduce your tax rate. You could, just sort of, again, have that be a part of the public outreach that you do at some point. If you wish to you want to eliminate all sales tax or at least reduce the rate, you could do that. So you could explain to folks that that's something that could be ratcheted down without voter approval because it's not generating higher revenues. Now, if you did that, you'd clearly have to weigh the pros and cons of that, right? Because you then would have to, if you did then want to reimpose it, go back to voters again to affect a change in tax policy that increased revenues. You could, if you wanted to, though, council, as a part of the ballot question itself, fair question, you could have a for certain date on it if you wished. Up to you.
Any other comments, council?
I don't know if it's allowed, but I would really like to see folks shown the water rates with no action, and then the projected water rates with a 1% going out to 9 years, because it gets pretty serious, going out to 9 years. And I think they should know the ramifications of this without doing anything.
And of course, we'll be preparing some of these info fact sheets. So when people ask, we'll have an explanation for them and what this will do for each individual resident unit and for businesses. So yeah, we will be getting materials together to show what was discussed with us last work session.
Yep. The FCPA, mayor and council, does allow the city to spend public monies on what are called factual summaries, so long as the materials and the information provided are, again, things like statistics, projections, numbers, Councilor Harmon, that's perfectly fine for the city to disseminate and make that kind of information available, so long as it doesn't cross over the line of advocacy for a yes or a no vote.
Right. So we just show on both sides, with and without.
Yes, sir.
Okay, any other discussion, council? Roll call, please.
Michael Hillman,
Yes.
Scott Pennell,
Yes.
Chuck Harmon,
Yes.
Bob Boland,
Yes.
John Curtis,
Yes.
Art Cacavelli, Jim Clark.
Yes.
All right, motion passes. We will move to ordinance 17. Can I have a motion?
I would move to adopt ordinance 17, series 2021, an ordinance rezoning approximately 3.31 acres consisting of blocks 45, 55, 56, 66, and south of the city, formerly town, of Idaho Springs Plat, a portion of the Nancaro Placer, MS number 1345, and portions of vacated city right-of-ways within and around said parcels from Park and Recreation, and C2, Commercial 2, to planned unit development.
Do I have a second?
Yeah, planned development, sorry, PD.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All right, discussion.
Who was that?
Chuck is second.
Okay.
So as always, this is, council, this is a first reading. This just frames it so that the developers can take it to planning commission. That planning commission meeting will be on September 1. But this allows them to this is not a vote of approval for a project or the rezoning to a planned development. It is merely just to be able to continue the process. This will come back to council under a second reading and a public hearing at a later time.
Exactly right, Mayor and Council. That latter time is September 13, so that's why there's no staff report. We as staff don't have anything for you because we don't want you. It's not appropriately queued up for you to have a hearing of any kind of any substance of the issue this evening. That's a good summary, Mayor. Thank you.
Thank you, Carmen. And remember, council, there is an active application for this project and this rezoning. So all council needs to be very aware of the comments that they make and make sure that we're not doing something or saying something that could be used against a vote from council. Any other discussion? Roll call.
Michael Hillman,
Yes.
Scott Pennell,
Yes.
Chuck Harmon,
Yes.
Bob
Yes.
Boland,
Yes.
John Curtis. John Curtis,
Yes, sorry.
Art Cacavelli, Jim Clark.
Yes.
All right, motion passes. We will move down to ordinance 18. Do I have a motion?
I move to approve ordinance 18, series 2021, an ordinance conditionally vacating portions of 11th Avenue, Idaho Street, and an alley in the vicinity of blocks 45, 55, 56, 57, 66, and south of the city of Idaho Springs, Colorado.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Okay, discussion, and I'm going to start. Now, this isn't our vacation of the right of way. Does this tie into that, Carmen?
Yes, sir. Mayor and council, this is sort of a companion ordinance to the previous one. And it recognizes that the requested PD zoning does involve purport and propose to involve some areas of rights of way that you have not yet vacated. So this ordinance recognizes that vacation of those rights of way within this larger PD development are sort of a companion piece to that. You will see this is not intended to be a finished product. You see some conditions on page 2 of this ordinance that there's a blank to be filled in terms of possible compensation for some of the rights of way areas. So this, like the previous ordinance, is not a final product, but rather a product that is traveling along the process with the PD zoning designation. And if indeed everything comes back to you on September 13th for you to decide those PD zoning issues with the recommendation of Planning Commission on that front, this will come back again. And at that time, staff projects those conditions will be in a final form for you to consider at that time.
All right, thank you for clarifying that.
Yes, sir.
Any other discussion, council? All right, roll call.
Michael Hillman,
Yes.
Scott Pennell,
Yes.
Chuck Harmon,
Yes.
Bob Boland,
Yes.
John Curtis,
Yes,
Art Cacavelli, Jim Clark.
Yes.
All right. We will move down to our ordinance second readings. Do I have a motion?
I'll move to approve ordinance number 12, series 2021, ordinance amending section 2-51, 2-53, and 2-56 of the Idaho Springs Municipal Code to address the creation of a deputy city clerk position and to clarify other positions and reporting structures within the administration department.
And do I have a second?
second.
Discussion. All right, hearing none, roll call, please.
Michael Hillman,
Yes.
Scott Pennell,
Yes.
Chuck Harmon,
Yes.
Bob Boland,
Yes.
John Curtis,
Yes,
Art Cacavelli, Jim Clark.
Yes.
All right, we will now move to our second ordinance reading. Do I have a motion?
I would move to adopt ordinance number 13, series 2021, and ordinance amending chapter 2 of the Idaho Springs Municipal Code to transfer general oversight and management of all department heads to the city administrator and to codify the organization and duties of the water wastewater department.
Do I have a second?
second.
Discussion. So this legislation will take 30 days to be in effect. So that will be what, September, we're at September, so October 1st. I'm gonna ask Carmen, with this, and once it gets legislation, does it get implemented immediately or at the request of the council to implement the change? Does that make sense?
It does. I would say this. council, mayor. Yes, this will, like most non-emergency ordinances, this one will become effective in terms of the code amendments that are contained in this ordinance 30 days from publication. So you're still maybe a month and a half out from that date happening, the effective date of the code amendments. However, I think, and I'm perfectly comfortable letting you know that if you wanted to direct the administrator to implement the policies or begin to implement the policies reflected in the ordinance from an administrative perspective, in the meantime, and encourage him to do that and direct him to do that, you could do that too. And it would be really the code amendments, the black and white text amendments that happen when the ordinance becomes effective, Mayor.
Okay, thank you for that. Any other discussion? Hearing none, can I have roll call, please?
Michael Hillman,
Yes.
Scott Pennell,
Yes.
Chuck Carmen,
Yes.
Bob Boland,
Yes.
John Curtis,
Yes.
Art Cacavelli, Jim Clark.
Yes.
All right, we don't have our finance officer with us tonight, so we'll move down to the city administrator. Andy?
Mayor and council, you have my report with one request for action, please. The first letter A, please.
All right. Do I have a motion?
I move to approve submission of an Energy Impact Assistance Fund, parentheses EIAF, grant application to the Colorado Department of Local Affairs in the amount of $600,000 with a city match of $1,512,505 for the construction of the Public Works Facility Project 2 at a total estimated cost of $2,112,505.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Second.
And discussion? So I'm not glad this happened but I actually had told the panel that we do presentations to, that was going to be my last hurrah, my last presentation to them. And it looks like that I'll be able to do another presentation to that panel. And I'm very excited about it. We've been very successful getting grants through DOLA. And I'm gonna make this one. I'm gonna go out with a bang on this one and hope for the best. So I'm very pleased that we're getting to be able to do this again, and I've got my fingers crossed that that we'll be successful with the full amount this time. Anybody else?
Who seconded that?
Who had the second on that?
I'll second.
Bob seconded it.
Okay.
Okay, can I have roll call?
Michael Hillman,
Yes.
Scott Pennell,
Yes.
Chuck Harmon,
Yes.
Bob Boland,
Yes.
John Curtis,
Yes.
Art Cacavelli, Jim Clark.
Yes.
All right, motion passes. All right, does anybody have any questions or thoughts or anything for our city administrator? All right, thanks, Andy. Welcome back. We missed you. I already told you that. All right, we will move down to, so wait a minute. Oh, okay. To City Clerk, Diane.
Mayor and Council, I have my staff report for your review with no request for action.
All right, thank you, Diane. Any questions for Diane? Diane, would you kind of briefly give us an update real quick on how many petitions we've got and for what positions, please?
Absolutely. Chuck Harmon and Michael Kowalski for mayor, and Kate Collier for council Ward 2, and Scott Pennell for Ward 1, and city clerk and treasurer Phyllis Adams, and myself.
So did Kenneth Reed not turn his petition in?
No, sir.
And the gentleman on 1900, I think it was Wall or something?
Brandon Williams.
No petition in?
Nope. No
And-
Slaymaker either.
Oh, okay. All right. That's what our lineup's going to be moving into election in November. Thank you, Diane. Good work. And now we'll move to PD. Chief?
Mayor and council, you've got the staff report before you. And I had submitted for a request for action, but I want to table that until the next meeting. There's no urgency there, and I need to update the wording on that. So I'm going to table that for today.
All right. Thanks, Chief. Any questions for the chief?
We appreciate your work through these hard times, Chief.
Well, I appreciate everyone's support as we've tried to work through this, and we're still looking to hire 2 people. So please keep the word out there if you know anybody that's interested in this profession. So,
all right, thank you, Chief. Anybody else? All right, we will move down to Public Works, Water, Wastewater. John?
Mayor and council, you have my staff report. I have 2 requests for action. One, to do some asphalt patching at some point whenever we get asphalt. We just want to be ready. Hopefully we can get it. And the other one is to dispose of used equipment that will come out of the wastewater treatment plant when the project is done. This includes a couple of blowers, some pumps, a lot of scrap metal that we have no use for. So that's my request.
And we're going to get John Kane, because John's been pretty successful selling our used stuff.
I talked to Ed about coming to get some pictures and information, so we can get that moving forward.
Well, we got to approve it first. Wait a minute, we got to approve it first before you start selling it. Do I have a motion?
I'll move to approve the sale of old equipment from the WRRF construction and to sell or dispose of old piping and related appurtenances.
And do I have a second?
Second.
Now discussion. John's going to go take pictures of all that stuff for you, John, so he can get it out there and we can start selling it.
We can do that.
Nope. And believe me, I'm sure there's a market for some of this stuff that, we've even either received, free or purchased something from other communities that had blowers that they weren't using. They changed their operation and had some stuff down. So there is a need for that, and to be able to put that out there and hopefully help another community out, I think is great. Anybody else? Roll call.
Michael Hillman,
Yes.
Scott Pennell,
Yes.
Chuck Harmon,
Yes.
Bob Boland,
Yes.
John Curtis,
Yes.
Art Cacavelli, Jim Clark.
Yes.
All right, motion passes. Do I have a motion for our second item?
I'd move to approve $35,000 to a fast patch for asphalt patching from line item 2360 6016.
Do I have a second? I got Bob second. Discussion?
Yeah, I'd like to ask John Bardoni what the price is on asphalt in relation to maybe a year ago, or is it quite a bit more?
It's quite a bit more right now. And these prices, both of them said, if we can get asphalt within 30 days, we'll go with these prices. If they can't outside of 30 days, I may have to be coming back to council and requesting more money for it. So hopefully they can get the asphalt as soon as possible.
And I think the last road that we're going to do is 15th, because we had a council member have us tear it all up. So he should be last on the list to fix.
We should have that council person fix that road.
Andy?
Mayor and council, one suggestion I might make to the motion is to perhaps add a 10% contingency. And that way, if there is a slight increase, a relatively modest increase in the cost, that John could proceed. That's a fairly standard practice, again, subject to council's approval, but I would say coming back for a relatively modest increase in the cost of the project.
I like that. If somebody you want to modify the motion?
Chuck.
Yeah, I would like to amend my motion to approve the $35,000 to a fast patch for asphalt repair to include a 10% contingency in the case that asphalt prices rise.
And a second?
Second.
All right. Thank you. Any other further discussion? Roll call.
Michael Hillman,
Yes.
Scott Pennell,
Yes.
Chuck Harmon,
Yes.
Bob Boland,
Yes.
John Curtis,
Yes.
Art Cacavelli, Jim Clark.
Yes.
All right, motion passes. All right, we'll wind down the night with a couple of things. If you've been downtown today, we can tell school is back in officially. It is almost a ghost town down there today. We will see busy weekends still through the end of October. So we're not out of the good business. It's just during the week going to be a little bit slower. This weekend, I announced our last meeting that there were going to be a parade for Hailey, Washington, with participation and help from the chief, Public Works, and others from our staff. It was a very successful event. Hailey was very excited. Her family was excited. She got great recognition. And I'll tell you now, she is not shy at all. She grabbed the microphone and started talking. So that was good. And it was good to recognize and honor one of our own kids that grew up here. I think they were third generation and succeeded and moved on to not only a full ride at a college, but I believe her dad said that she got 2 years ago Gatorade Player of the Year for that conference. So that's huge. And found out that she, when she leaves Colorado, she'll be going somewhere in France where she is, that's what she does professionally. So she'll be going overseas to play professionally for over in Europe. So I think that was cool. Good turnout. The rain held out for the most part. It rained for a few minutes. The cowboy band showed up and played some music for everybody downtown. So it was a great community pride type event that a lot of folks participated in, and I was honored to be a part of that. You know, as I said, when I was doing the talking, for somebody at a small community like this, and I'll even say for the county wide of 9,000 people, for us to have somebody that has that accomplishment. That we can call one of our own. I think that's great. Also, I don't know if anybody knows, but the school resource officer up at the high school, Bo Campbell, he's the boxing coach. And, you know, he's been up there and he's dealt with all my kids. So, you know, I've known him for quite a while. He was also honored. He received a gold, really not a gold medal, but for refereeing and being a part of the judges in the Olympic Games. So he was recognized, you know, in Tokyo, and we recognized him as well on Saturday afternoon, and he was very thankful for that. So great event. Let's see. I think that's all I've got to update everybody on. And did Bob come prepared with a history lesson?
Very brief one. I do have a question. I was wondering if the bell ringing went off as planned.
It did, Bob. We really couldn't hear it.
And we could not where we were either. That's very interesting.
Yeah. I know Dennis Johnson was at the hose house and he rang it and then he came back down. He said, I said, I didn't even hear it. So
yeah,
I know there were some bells going off. So yes.
Okay. All right. Well, anyway, you mentioned the cowboy band. As far as I can tell, it's about the second oldest brass band in Colorado, the Denver Municipal Band being the oldest. And the cowboy band, it's easy to trace where it started and so on because of the way it's spelled, with cowboy being hyphenated and there being two words basically. And the years escape me right now. Well, I wasn't there, but it began in Dodge City, Kansas, and subsequently some years later moved to Pueblo, Colorado, and somehow lost to history, as far as I can find it, that it did end up in Idaho Springs. And it's considered to be a brass concert band. And it's really amazing that they are still playing. And I have sometimes had the thought that during budget season that the city might even become an official sponsor of the band And so everywhere they play, perhaps we could have a banner out that says sponsored by Idaho Springs for your entertainment. So a thought. That's all I have.
All right. Well, thanks, Bob. Do I have anything else to address from council? Jim?
Hey, can we put the flag back up when we do the Pledge of Allegiance on our screen?
John, can you make that happen?
Yes, sir.
Right
Okay.
on. I like that.
Can I ask a question of council just related to that? I have noticed when we do the Pledge of Allegiance, it's difficult on Zoom to have everybody together and led. And I was thinking it might be cool to invite members of our community to do a video of the Pledge of Allegiance with the flag in it. And I was thinking like a kid from Carlson or, you know, firefighter, whoever, somebody like that. And every week, or maybe we don't do it every week, but we at least have one where somebody kind of leads it. And then we would play that video at the beginning of the meeting and we could all say the pledge along with it. And I was just wondering if you guys might be amenable to trying that.
I like that.
I love that.
Okay.
Good.
Cool. All right. With nothing else, it is 7:55 and meeting's adjourned. Thanks, council.